Thank you, Andy. It's very kind intro. Good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are in the world. It's great to be here. First one of 2026. So it's quite a privilege to be here speaking with you. I've got some slides I'm going to share with you. So you don't have to sit and just look at my face, which is probably a good thing. I always say bring in some humor, which is great. So what are we going to talk about today? So if I can get that to move on, I'll just give you a little bit more background on me as well as being in testing. I've worked in testing for over 35 years. So I've been around quite a while. Started off in mainframes, would you believe it? So yeah, a long time in the testing industry. I currently work at EasyJet as a senior QE manager. I look after the testing in the airline operations space. It is way more complex than I'd ever imagined before I joined. Um, as Andy said, I'm a conference speaker and blogger. There's my LinkedIn profile. And outside of testing, I love radio. I've been doing a weekly radio show for about 14 years on a Saturday on a community radio station. And it's absolutely brilliant fun. I get to play the songs I like and I ignore the ones I don't. So you may well be thinking that I've jumped on the AI bandwagon. There are so many talks about AI. Kind of, but actually this isn't going to be a talk about how to use a particular tool. This is really about our behaviors as human beings, as testers with these tools and how we should be interacting with them. So it's a little bit different and hopefully you will get something out of it. The talk is really about how we can coexist with AI. It's literally everywhere. I mean, you only have to open Google and start doing a search and you get an AI summary. So anybody who says that they haven't touched AI is probably in a very much small minority who probably don't use the web because it's literally just there. It's on your phones. It's everything. I presume most of you are using AI in some form, maybe in your work, at home, whatever it is. And I do wonder whether you're skeptical of it or maybe you love it. But today is really about us taking a little bit of a journey to see how we can successfully work with AI tools. So come and join me. Something that struck me as I was thinking about this last year and putting the talk together is this is new to us. AI is new for us as humans to deal with. And it's a fundamental change. We've gone from kind of telling a computer what to do, programming it, to actually collaborating with a computer. We're now collaborating with something that is giving us opinions, advice, some of the language. It's like talking to a human in some respects. It is fundamentally different to how we've been doing things in the past. Therefore, we can't just continue as we have done. It's an adaptation for us. And as humans, we're not always great at adapting to new things, especially when we don't know what the boundaries are. And as humans, we're naturally lazy and we look for shortcuts. Now, I'm not going to ask you to fess up, but how many of you would take the left-hand shortcut if it wasn't muddy? Well, I would. So there you go. Yeah. We see a shortcut, we take it. Why take the long way? And we are kind of hardwired to look for the easiest approach and the easiest solution. But I think this will cause us some issues. And the reason I say that is, those of us who have been working for a while have worked in a particular way, and then AI has come into our lives. You look at your children and they're coming through school, they're growing up with AI from a very young age. It's going to be embedded in how they use it. The way that they become reliant on it kind of scares me a little bit because they're not going to know another way of doing things. The way I liken it to is when I first started driving, I passed my test in London and I went out and bought an A to Z book, map book that I carried around in the car for years. It was very dog-eared. Now I can use a paper map and I can use a GPS. But my daughter never used a map in her life. She can only use GPS. I'm like, well, what are you going to do when that goes down? You've got no backup. Well, the same applies to the future generations. If they grow up seeing us use AI in one particular way and they mimic it, they don't have our backgrounds to fall back on. So I think there's a bit of a danger here. Excuse the yellow font, but this is really something I feel is important. I've got some studies. There are 4 that I'm going to share at the very end. It'll be in the references, but they're just ones I came across quite quickly. There are studies that show that a reliance on AI tools is linked to diminished critical thinking abilities. Now, this isn't me scaremongering. This is me just pointing out something that's a realism. It's something that I think we all need to kind of step back and go, oh, hang on a minute. That's not what we would want to have as human beings, let alone as testing and professionals. If you do something that affects your memory, attention span, and your ability to solve problems, that's harmful to you as a person, as a functioning human. I think we need to bear that in mind and look at that and think, okay, relying on anyone to do something for me means I forget how to do it. That's no different with AI. It's common sense, but it's one of the things that is easy to overlook. The other thing as well is think about the future. Think about how AI is going to be used in the future. And imagine you've got, a subgroup of people who are retaining their skills. They still maintain their skills, but the bulk of the population looks at AI and just says, "Oh, that can do everything for me. I don't need to worry." Well, then you're going to have two tiers, and you're going to have our future defined by just those who still retain those skills, and there'll be a smaller and smaller number of people. What does that mean? Well, if you've got a select few who are creating data sources and AI models and shaping the AI, that's going to introduce biases for a smaller group of people. That's not a good thing. So we need to do our best to make sure that that doesn't happen. I want you to flip forward 10 years and imagine you've got to write an email, but you're so used to using AI to do it for you that the only thing you can do is give it basic instructions. Write an email to my boss asking for XYZ. Okay. You don't actually know whether the output's right. You're not even sure where to start with the input, let alone knowing what the output is. And you can't work out pros and cons yourself. You have to put it into an AI tool. Is this good or is that good? Or imagine you've actually sat down and you've used AI to create a really good executive summary. And then you put it in front of the board of directors and they go, "This is great. These figures on page 38, could you just take me through them?" And you're like, no, it doesn't reflect well, does it? You've got to be able to stand by any data that you are using or presenting to others. So I guess the question running through your mind is, well, why should I care? And I've tailored it to testers, but you could just put humans. But as testers, if we start relying on AI without validating what we see, then we're going to miss things like the biases that are included. We're going to make decisions that are based on flawed data without even knowing it. Now, that's going to harm the job that we do. We don't want to do that. We want to do the best that we do. And the reason that you're all on here is because you are all test professionals and you care. So I think this is something we just need to be very, very mindful of. We could miss things because we put too much trust into something that's essentially a tool. And of course, as I said earlier on, for us as testing professionals, we bring something unique to the table. We do a role for a reason. But if we rely more on AI to do that for us, we lose our ability to make our own judgments. Therefore, we decrease our own value. And I don't think that's a place any of us really want to be. But it's perfectly possible, I believe, to live with AI and thrive with it. And there's a few things that I wanted to call out here. We need to embrace it. Absolutely. There's no getting away. We can't be Luddites. We can't say, right, we're not going to use it. That's it. The tools are here and they're going to get better and better. We need to embrace the use of AI, but one of the best things we can be is skeptical because that's what makes us step back and challenge, question, think. AI, I'm going to use AI as a term, but AI is a collection of tools. They all do different things, but they are tools that are there to augment our own abilities. It's not meant to replace us. We can use AI to help us do things, but not to actually do something instead of us, if that makes sense. So we should be thinking, how do we refine something, but look at it again through a different lens? Not write me something and I'm not going to bother with it. With AI, context is key. I've got some really good examples to walk you through in a little while. But the more information you give, the better results you're going to get back. It's GIGO, isn't it? Garbage in, garbage out. That still applies here. And think about the level of scrutiny that you have when you pick up any other piece of documentation, whatever reference documentation it is. You will look at something, I would hope, you would read it, you would question it. Doesn't need to be any different for something that's created through an AI tool, in my opinion. Don't overtrust. When we talked about critical thinking there, I just want to quickly capture what I mean by that. I found a Burns and Sinfield 2016 description, which I've conveniently just summarized because that's quite long. But for me, it's the ability to interpret, evaluate, and analyze data and information. That's what we're talking about here. So these are the skills that are integral for us as testers that we want to augment, not replace. I think they're vital tools for us as testers. I think it's one of the things that we bring as strengths to our roles. And something I talked about first, I would say about 8 to 10 years ago, is there's an imbalance in our learning. So we're really good at finding technical courses. Now, if you want to go and learn a particular language, let's say you want to go and learn Python, there are more courses you can shake a stick at. You could probably find exactly what you want within 5 minutes on a Google search somewhere. But you try finding skills around critical thinking, analytical skills, the softer skills, they're not so much there. We imbalance probably 90-10, I would say, in terms of how we invest our time and honing the skills. What I would say is I think it's more important to do that now. And I see Craig has just said that you teach critical thinking around the world. I need to have a chat with you because not many people have actually come up and said that they do that. And I've not come across many people. So I think you're probably in a minority, but it's good to know it happens. We will connect. So how do we apply this as testers? That's a good question. As I said, critical thinking, problem solving, that's something that we need to make sure that we continue to hone. Our ability to solve a problem is what gives us the jobs that we do. Why would they need us otherwise? You have your own understanding of your applications or the ecosystem that you're working on. I don't need to know what they are. You do. You will know it better than any tool can ever do because you know context, things like that. So think about the output of AI. Test the output like you would a piece of code. AI gives you something, some results, but is it right? How did the tool arrive at its answers? Now you can look at the reference data. You can look at the sources of that data. I don't know if everyone does. I certainly encourage you to. And there's a reason for that. Something came up, and I'm just going to refer to my phone because I screen grabbed something that was really interesting yesterday that I was looking through. And there were sources quoted in, yeah, it was a um, legal case in America, I think. And there were, AI came up with some sources that were quoted and it went to court. And then it turned out that what AI had said were valid didn't even exist. Those sources were just made up because the AI tool thought that's what the person wanted. So they created something to back up an argument with fake information. And that caused a legal issue. So, it might seem like a minor thing, but it actually can have quite big repercussions. Consider any assumptions that might have been made. Now, it could assume that everybody is, native English speaker. It could assume that everybody that's going to be using an application that you're asking it to help refine are all in a certain age or socioeconomic bracket. Okay. But also the other side is what might have been missed by the AI tool. And particularly artifacts, because you may be saying, oh, create me a test plan or create me some tests. But if the information that you're asking the tool to work from has not got everything you need, if it's incomplete, you're going to have gaps. Now, the tool's not going to know that. That's up to you in your role. And don't forget the biases. AI will just reinforce any biases as it builds its reference data. And that's a key point to make. If it thinks that everybody who is a developer is male, white, under the age of 35, has glasses and a beard, and it keeps finding that everywhere, that is what it's going to continue reinforcing. So you need to be mindful of what the biases could be in any data that you're seeing. And remember, AI is fallible. Okay. When we think about over trusting it, there's a few things to think about. AI doesn't understand motivations. Now, if I ask you a question, generally you'll know why I'm asking it, maybe through my facial expression, tone of voice, maybe I've given you the context, and maybe you can give the context, but AI doesn't understand your motivation. Why do you want to know that? What is it about that you want to know, and why? It absolutely has no filter. Now, I could give it a picture. I don't dare, but I could give it a picture and go, this is how old I am. Do I look older or younger than my age? Now, it's just going to tell you flat out, because it can't, it doesn't know about feelings. It's just going to tell you. Now, if you ask a human, do I look my age? Then maybe you demur a little bit, because you think, oh, yeah, I need to be mindful of what I say here in case I upset someone. AI can't do that. Think about AI as like a 18-month-old child, because it can't understand emotions around things. I'm not saying it will never be able to, but I don't think it'll ever be able to understand emotions in the way that we can as humans. And it can't filter out its own biases, because that's our job. And I said earlier on, the pictures of engineers who are all male, but also, generate pictures of preschool teachers. It was all female. Generate pictures of university professors, and it was a group of men in tweed who are 60 with white hair. Because that's what it keeps finding, so it just assumes that's the norm. But it's our job to filter out those biases and make sure that the data that is used and the data that is generated is fully representative, doesn't discriminate anyone in our society. So one of my colleagues, Adam Bacon at EasyJet, he said this in a team meeting, and I liked it. He said, treat AI like a knowledgeable team member. It's someone you'd go to for advice. Now, I don't know about you, but if you go to someone for advice and they say, well, if I was you, I would do this, how many of you would just blindly go away and do it without thinking what the pros and cons are, or doing a bit of checking? Unlikely that you would just go steaming in. You would probably want to think about it. So, I think this is a good quote. Now, practical uses of AI, I haven't really touched on that yet, but it's a good way of doing it. We learn by doing, and maybe start with a problem that you can't solve. It doesn't have to be a work problem. It could be something that you want to do outside work. Here's an example. You might want to look for a training course, and you might want to be specific about it. You say, well, I want it to be less than an hour because I want it to fit it to my lunch. I want some video examples. Don't want exams. I'm so done with that. It needs to be in English, but I want it with subtitles. So you can be quite explicit about what you're looking for. Or you might actually say, oh, I've been struggling to find a holiday that suits all of our needs. We've got, 4 people, everybody wants something different. Wonder if AI can do a bit of searching. Well, you're not just going to take the first thing it finds you, but you'll look at it and you'll come back and you go, that's not quite right. So you could refine it. Or you could use AI to summarize some data that you have and present it in a different format. I've used that before. I've done some surveys in work to find out what people thought about the role of testers and quality engineers, what the level of understanding is at different levels, and asked AI to summarize it and look for commonalities and differences, and then present back. Using personas is a really good way to train AI and to get the answers that you're looking for rather than being generic. So this is from Google. Assuming the role of a skilled copywriter. So it's saying, here, this is the role that I want you to pretend to be. And this is how I want your responses to be. So what I want you to do is to offer advice and guidance. And there's a purpose. I need copy for websites, adverts, and social media. So you're giving as much information and you're giving it a persona so that it doesn't come back with something generic or one that I've written, which is obviously not as polished as the Google one, but maybe you're a sales manager and you're thinking, collate the last 3 months profit by region for an area sales director. So explain it in summary terms, or you could explain it in detail, but you're just putting in the personas. So you've got an idea of what do you need it to do and why, and who are you trying to do on behalf of? What about the same question with different personas? So imagine this, as someone in their 20s, you want to see what the top 5 attractions are in Ibiza in the summer. So you're going to get a list of nightclubs and other things. What will you get back with this one? You're going to get something different because you've said, okay, the different persona is I've got a family of 5 with different children. Well, you're not really going to get nightclubs there. You'll get other things. It's the same place. It's the same, you still want the top 5 attractions, but you change the personas. So you should get a different answer. So there's ways to refine what you're doing. Your role is then to look at what comes back and say, is it what I was looking for? And if not, then refine it. The other thing you could do is to think about the tone. So when you're getting a response back, it may come back in a quite neutral tone to start with, but you might want it to help you give ideas for writing something in a more formal or a less formal tone, maybe keeping the language welcoming and friendly. Again, it's to give you ideas where maybe you're struggling. Maybe you're thinking, I'm not quite sure if I've written this the right way. If I put it into AI, maybe it could give me a few ideas for how to sharpen the language a bit. I mean, that's a really good way of using a tool to help you rather than saying, write me a letter, because you've just devolved all the responsibility. So I've used AI with this talk because I am not great at putting layouts in things. I'm not that creative. And I wanted to look at some of the wording and the layouts for the slides. Otherwise, they tend to be too word heavy. And I looked at what came back as suggestions. And I thought, okay, it's advice. What do I like? What do I not like? Does if it's given me options for words, are they written in a way I would naturally speak? If no, then I'll change it and I'll make it say what I wanted to say. Do I like the look of the layout? So I don't want it to try different things. And if I use AI for an answer or an opinion, I want to go and check it for myself because I still need to do the thinking. It's on me. And it's my responsibility to make sure that if I am asking AI to help me with something or find me some information, that I do the checking before I come and say anything to anybody else, before I present that as my work. Because if AI's done it, it's not my work. So I still have to own that thinking. So I'm just going to do a summary on this. I do think that the use of AI it is a really incredible opportunity for us to use something to enhance our skills. There are tools that can help us. I say it. I am aware that there are many different types of AI tools, but I'm keeping it simple for now. AI needs to be looked at as something that is a tool that is there to help us. It is not to take over what we do. Of course, it's fallible. AI shouldn't be looked as, oh, that's the answer, perfect. It's not, and we need to remember that. And don't forget, it's only as good as the information that either you give it or that it is using to generate content. I would encourage you to embrace the use of AI. You don't want to fall behind. We want to keep up with the future. Showcase what you're doing, but also take on the responsibility of guiding others as well. And particularly if you see people using AI without any oversight, call it out. And I think we all, as professionals, have a responsibility to do that. If somebody is saying, create me a test plan or create me some tests, and they're not even looking at it at all, that is a huge red flag. because how do they know that they're complete? You've got to have that oversight. So just stay that little bit skeptical. I think that's one of the best bits of advice that I can give you. And these are the references. I'm just going to call out the third one, Melbourne University. I love how the Australians call things literally as they are. As AI gets smarter, are we getting dumber? I don't think you need to guess what the article is about, but it's great. And then the BBC put something out last month, very recently. Are AI prompts damaging your thinking skills? So it's something that people are aware of. I'm sure there are people out there. I've seen various messages popping up as I've been doing the talk that disappear quite quickly, so I can't keep up. But I'm sure there are people out there doing things around critical thinking, and it's good to know. But for those who aren't doing as much around it, I think this is a bit of a wake up call and a challenge for us to make sure that we are keeping up to date so that we can make sure that we start questioning AI. I hope that's been useful. Thank you. And I'm sure there are many questions, so I'll stop sharing and then Andy can tell me.
Cool. Firstly, Steve, what a fan that is a fantastic talk, and I like as well with that. I really like as well the fact that um, you've not sort of mentioned a specific tool, but sort of how um, we can think critically as testers as well to help embrace AI, but not become too reliant on it. I mean, I myself, I can see the benefits of AI, but I don't want to sort of like everything. I don't want to sort of rely on it. I want to sort of have sort of like a sort of thinking sort of critically thinking for myself. But I thought it was refreshing. It's given hope for the future as well, and it gives us an opportunity now to develop ourselves as testers because critical thinking, I think, is one of the key skills you need as a tester. I was I was told this 12 years ago when I started becoming a tester officially, and it still stands now. So um, I hope you've all enjoyed it. And if anybody has any questions for Steve, please write me in the chat, or please unmute yourselves as well and ask. There's some comments in here as well about teaching critical thinking to employees and stuff, which is interesting as well. I mean, I'd be interested to sort of see how sort of businesses teach critical thinking. I think it's a good skill to teach in education as well. Um, but no, just if anyone's got any questions, please say. So has any so so
And
yeah.
Andy, there are a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
Um,
So
right at the bottom, there's
right
a
at the bottom. Okay, no problem. I'm just trying
K
to find them now.
KR.
KR. Yeah, so KR's put a question on the best AI talk that I've seen. Is it possible to get AI tools to explain how it reached an answer? To me, this is crucial.
Yeah, thank you. It is because you can ask the AI tool to tell you what reference data it's using, and then that's what I meant earlier on by looking at the output and seeing where does it get its data from, but not just saying, oh, here's a link to something, click that link, go through. Because the example I gave, I do need to try and find where I saw that the other day. The legal paper that referenced non-existent work. That was just, I think somebody saw, oh, it's generated me a link. Okay, that must mean it's real. I'll put it in somewhere. Go and check through. But is there something it could be missing as well? So AI's picked this. Why did it pick this? You can question the tool. You can question why did it find that, or where did it get this from? So yeah, drill down, do as much drilling and do some independent research. The only way to validate something sometimes is to go off and do your research somewhere else and then come back and see, well, try a different tool. Um, have you got a different reference point yourself that you can look at to see whether AI has actually referenced that, if it tells you it has, or whether it may reference something but miss content out of it. So it's tricky. There's not really, I can't give a definitive answer on that other than, keep questioning it, but do your own independent research.
Thank you. And another question, Steve, we've got is, have you had an experience using test rigs with AI-powered IDEs like Cursor?
I personally haven't. I'm not hands-on in that sense as a senior manager, so I haven't got any hands-on experience with that. Be interested if anyone else has, though. Please do step back, because it does say question for me and any other testers. So if anyone else has, please jump in.
Craig's also recommended another book which might be interesting, by Bryce Hoffman, Red Team Thinking.
Yeah, there's some interesting comments on here about that there are things available. I've no doubt, but all I can say is that in the research that I was doing for this tool in the UK, there's not as much around critical thinking.
Yeah.
Dave Sinclair's you'll talk critical thinking to new employees in your company. That's amazing. But I've not found that where I am, and I see in America, it's mandatory. Many US states, it's not mandatory in the UK. So I can only speak from my perspective. I don't doubt that it is out there, but there are clearly gaps, and I think we just need to look at how we can fix that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another question as well from Doc Graham as well. Is independent research, e.g., using Google, will be able to do this without AI in, say, 3 years?
Yes, a good point, because they're so interlinked. Google is using AI. I think we can use Google to look for websites and content in the same way that AI can. Do we want to? Maybe we just look at it as independent research. Maybe is more using different AI tools, because they're all going to use different methods to get their source data, and maybe that's where we end up. I think we're already there, aren't we? Google is already using AI, but maybe it's down to us to do as many different types of searches as we can. And there's always good old reference books.
I mean, one question I have as well, I can see potential benefits of AI. One concern I do have is the data sort of being biased, or AI biases being brought in as well. So, as a community and as testers as well, how would there be any sort of measures or ways which you could practically implement to help, you recommend as implement to help sort of challenge some of these biases and stuff, so that everybody feels represented, and it's an AI sort of is more accurate to addressing the needs of problems which we're being faced with.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm getting some feedback on this. Apologies.
That's all right.
So I missed what you said because I started getting some weird feedback. Sorry about
No
that.
problem. No, it's just about, with AI biases, are there any ways as a community that we could help counteract some of these biases so that AI is fairer and more inclusive?
It's got to be. That's the whole point of it, isn't it? If what's our role if it isn't to call things out? Our role isn't just to look for defects. In code, a defect can be whatever is something that isn't working the way it should do. If AI is not creating output that it should do, to me that's a defect. It's our role to call it out. So we absolutely need to look at the data sources and think, what is it getting? What's the coverage? How many different reference points have been included in this result? If it's only gone and found you something that's from a very narrow field, then you need to look at that and go, well, how is that representative? And do your own independent research as best you can. Be interesting to look at the same thing, same question on different AI tools. Are they using the same narrow reference data points, or are they using different ones? In which case you can play on that and you can start trying to expand it. Play one tool off against the other would be quite fun.
Thank you. So, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback as well about your talk, Steve, as well. So, and I'll also second and third the fact that you've delivered a really great talk as well. So, I think I've certainly learned something today, and I've found it really fruitful. And yes, the talk is going to be shared afterwards as well. So anyone who would like to watch it again, I certainly will, and I'm sure a lot of you will as well. And some people who unfortunately couldn't make it today can also view it as well. And in the next edition of the Tester Online magazine, I'll also include it in the magazine as well, so that anyone can watch it as well. So, but it was a fantastic talk. So, does anybody have any further questions for Steve at all? Yeah.
Everybody wants to have their lunch.
Yeah, understand.
Or get back to their next meetings.
Yeah, I'm going to have my lunch in a minute as well. But
I would say if you do have any questions, I want to go through some of the links in here as well. And thank you to everybody for your kind comment and for engaging in the talk. It's really good to make it two-way. I will have a look at some of those myself and maybe reach out. But please do reach out to me on LinkedIn if you do have any further questions, something that comes to you later on. Always good to meet new people and expand our craft as best we can.
Would you like to share your LinkedIn profile link, or do you want me to? Or
yes, I will need to just switch over to grab it from here, and then I can do that. And thank you for organising this, Andy, as well. You and the SIGIS team.
It's a pleasure. I'd also like to thank everybody in SIGIS, particularly Gamafi, Nicola and Maddie, who've been absolutely fantastic with helping getting these sessions organised. Gamafi, you have been a superstar. So it's been a pleasure to work alongside you, and we have our next talk next month as well on the 13th of February. So it will be a discussion with Nicola Martin and people and it's a joint event between BCS Pride as well as
early careers.
Sorry.
Oh, it was early careers and SIGIS.
Early careers and SIGIS, yeah. And the details of that will be coming out soon as well. And we've also got some really good talks lined up as well throughout the rest of the year as well. So watch this space. More details will be available soon as well. And if you've got any ideas for any talks you'd like to do, please reach out to either Gamafi or myself as well. And we'd be interested to hear from you as well. So I'd like to close the session by saying, firstly, Steve, thank you for such a fantastic and very, very insightful talk. I've found it incredibly fruitful, and there's something I can take away from it, and I'm sure everybody else will do as well. I'd like to thank all of you for attending as well, and thank you for supporting our first monthly event as well. And I'd like to thank everybody within SIGIST, particularly Gamafi, for helping making the event, and Nicola and Maddie, and everybody in SIGIST, and Gary, Mike, and everybody for making the first event a success as well.